Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rockets Way podcast. And today's topic is related to social media. It will be fun to figure out what I will add to this very beaten topic. So let's do this. And so the first question will be how this topic came to existence on this podcast. Well, it was proposed from the audience, so this is a feedback-based podcast. And it was proposed, hey, Arthur, why you don't do an episode based on social media? And let's do this. Okay, let's execute this. And the first thing is what is said basically of the consequences of social media. And of course, there are positives, there are negatives. People tend to focus on the negatives. For example, the way that the relations that are based on social media or they come from social media tend to be quite superficial, and they tend to replace everlasting, or they challenge the everlasting relations, human relations that already exists on a subject. And this is critically based on the fact that these connections are typically done with really superficial material. There are no hardships to overcome. There are no challenges to overcome. They are not typically based on cooperation. And typically the social media connections are done really based on just one common interest, with not actually effort of sharing that common interest or common goal. And this is pretty much why those relationships, in my opinion, why those relationships tend to be superficial compared with the offline connections. And also is an interesting topic, which is that for some reason, I don't know why, social media tend to promote antisocial behavior. For some reason, people tend to get addicted to some content creation that is really very dumb, and I felt guilty of this thing, mostly on Instagram. And typically, on extreme cases, people they close themselves at home. They give their prime time to online content instead of being around people, at least making the effort of being around people, which this everything together increases the risk of depression and general unhappiness, because we are social animals, even the most antisocial of us. So we crave for social connection, and the media platforms or the social media platforms doesn't provide the same quality of interactions that, for example, meeting someone at the bar or a coffee can give us. There's nothing compared whatsoever of sharing a meme or cats on Instagram, for example. There's nothing compared. And this is, strangely enough, a situation that is happening more and more. We know this, but I really don't understand why this happens. So feel free to share your opinion about this topic. So, and for last, what I've heard compared of what are the negatives, let's say, of the social media is the ego, the exaggerated egos that we can see on some pages. And even on Facebook, mostly on Instagram, where's the social media platform that I use the most. On Instagram, there are a bunch of people, they only post selfies of themselves, basically, which this demonstrates a very, I don't know the word, but they censor the content on themselves. So imagine how they'll censor the conversations with friends, how they censor everything around them is basically themselves. So this is not healthy at all, but it's their problem, let's say. They are conscious of this situation, or they don't really care. But at the same time, this promotes the need of validation, external validation, which basically they are losing control of their own ability to be safe emotionally and take they control emotionally of their status, of their emotional states. And well, this is their choice, but we can see across platforms there are pages that are ego-centered. It's like a marketing page from themselves, and they drive of getting followers, they drive of getting attention from other people, which on the long road, this is not beneficial for them. So this is mostly the main topics that we heard regarding social media, and I would like to bring my take a bit out of the box. I will try to bring my take a bit out of the box. And mostly one of the problems I say with social media, because it's very recent in terms of human evolution, that we don't know how to use this tool. We are still exploring the possibilities, because it's just a tool. So if they're used for good or bad is entirely dependent on the usage that the people provide or give to those use that tool. Is the way the people use the tool. So if you use them, social media, to promote merit, high achieving situations, or promote healthy habits, it's very powerful tool. So they can inspire other people to follow, or at least teach them how to follow a certain healthier lifestyle, let's say. And once again, I think one of the characteristics of social media is the ability that you can connect an expert on a matter, and that expert can communicate to the masses, and they can teach them a certain aspect of a hobby, of a lifestyle approach, or any topic whatsoever that the people want to improve themselves. So this is really a very plus of the social media, that before we didn't have it. So imagine to have worldwide experts on a given matter. You don't need to go to the extremes. Even if someone is moderate to high successful on a given area, imagine the value that experience can provide to you or to me if you want to improve in a certain skill or a certain area in your life. And the question that I have regarding this topic is, how are we, in a way, mandatory to use these kind of tools? Meaning, are we obliged to use social media? Can we have a completely off the grid lifestyle? Well, yes, we can, but we will lose a lot nowadays, because there is a lot of information that is used only on social media. For example, I don't have Facebook, and I deleted my Facebook account for some some time now. And the reason why I deleted the Facebook account was a bit of privacy concerns. I have Instagram, so goes the privacy concern out of the window. But the thing that I struggle the most with by deleting my Facebook is my lack of knowledge of certain events that were promoted on almost exclusively on Facebook. So one of my struggles was exactly this: how I managed to get the events on my city or on topics that I really concerned or I really liked it on my city. Well, this was a struggle since the beginning, because there are some content or some events that are only shared on Facebook. I don't know how it is today, because I deleted for some time now, and I didn't actually get an alternative to this. Actually, I'm more or less, now that I think about it, I got an alternative, which is the Meetup. In a way, it provides an alternative for events that are on your interest. But for example, or professionally organized events, I mostly lost grasp of it. So I need to go to other sources. For example, now Telegram is on the high in terms of creating groups for specific contents or specific areas, and those groups provide that information of the events that is happening and so on and so on. In a way, it replaces a Facebook, but again, there was not a correlation. When I deleted Facebook, I didn't manage to find an exact replacement which I could protect my privacy most. And also at the same time, the fact that I deleted Facebook, it become more or less mandatory to me to take the initiative more, because the information was not so easily available, things were not so easily available, so I need to find them in a way. So in contrast, the fact that I deleted Facebook made it me taking the initiative more and more. Even though it's nice to be comfortable on the couch trying to figure out what you do on your weekend, but since I made that decision, I'm forced to have more initiative that sometimes are successful initiatives, sometimes is completely out of the window in terms of success. So it is what it is, basically. So I don't regret the fact that I deleted Facebook, and I don't see myself create an account on foreseen future. And the only thing on social media that I use is Instagram, and I use it mostly for fun. But nevertheless, eventually in the future, I will delete it, maybe. But it's the only social media account that I use today. And now I can talk a bit about my experience on a given platform regarding Instagram. Well, the examples will be based on Instagram, but it concerns a bit of social media. So the fact that Instagram is based on photograph, you are really more exposed to this ego boost content, which is typically guys or mostly girls. At least the algorithm sends that to me, that there is only girls in like whatever, doing whatever. If you see their profile is only pictures of themselves, is really zero quality content, because they don't teach anything, they do nothing, just they smile to a camera and they are doing stage stuff. So zero quality content in my perspective, and this brings a risk of this kind of content, which is your brain is fed for stuff that you put inside of it. So if you are feeding your brain with not very smart content, you're not getting smarter either, so it's quite dangerous. So the thing that when I use Instagram, I really try to first find funny stuff to send to my friends, of course, but at the same time I will try to find stuff to learn more things regarding a specific topic or whatever, something that can actually teach me something. Or for example, checks people achieving quite amazing stuff, typically on sports or in other scenarios, when they do really hard tricks, and it's fun to see how the technique is done, how they manage to work on that specific trick and the end result of it. This is the kind of content that I like it most. Another social media that is widely used is WhatsApp. So how could we replace WhatsApp? How many groups do you have on your WhatsApp account, and how much stuff is sent to you that you really don't like it? You know, it's like immense, right? At the same time, it shows that you are on groups which the content is not aligned with your expectations. So the question is why you are doing on that group. Maybe because you connect, or you are friends with most of the people of that group. But if those people are sharing stuff to you that you don't like, why you are on that group on the first place? You know, is a bit of a challenge in terms of how to manage these kind of groups, and people tend to stay on those groups for the fear of missing out. Imagine there are some conversation or some event they create on the people on that group and don't invite you, for example. For example, one of my concerns is because I have a WhatsApp group, I don't care what they send, but I enjoy my time with those people when they gather for a beer, for example. And if I get out of this group, if they are a beer invitation to the people of that group, they for sure, in my perspective, they won't call me, for example, because I'm not part of the group, because that event belongs of the people of that group, which is hard in the same sense. But my strategy is I just mute. Eventually, if I see something that pops up of my interest, I can take the topic forward. But on most of the WhatsApp groups that I have, I just mute them straightforward. So overall, this is my opinion regarding social media. I think it's a tool that we don't have really grasp how to use it properly. I try to use it personally for good stuff, finding content that teach me stuff, seeing people achieving really cool things. And try to avoid as dumb things as possible. But of course, it's a widely available content, and it's quite addictive, and the software typically is made to make you addicted to it. So be conscious of it and try to force yourself outside of that social media, or at least be aware, if you are lazy on the couch, you can spend an enormous amount of time just checking random not valuable content whatsoever. So my final message is, the thing that you put in your brain is the things that you are feeding your thoughts of. So be careful with that and nourish your brain as much as possible. And that's it. So I hope that you liked this episode, and we are almost at the target of the 10 episodes for the first season, and afterwards, well, let's see what happens. So have fun.